all of us here and on my own behalf for taking the trouble, first of all, to accept to be the chair of Global Peace and to take all the time that you have taken at such ungodly hour of the night to be with us. God will continue to expand your coast. Your Eminence, I want to thank you most sincerely for taking charge of this meeting even before I came. And as I said to Bishop Onoha, I thought I would be here early because I was hoping that I would get a private plane to get me here. And when that failed, I was told that the earliest commercial plane I can get will be 11:40. And while I was waiting at the presidential lounge in Lagos, the speaker got there and he said, well, why don't you have a ride in my car, in my plane? So he was kind enough to bring me down here. That's why I was a bit early. And you can help me thank him. Bishop? I have been given order that if I sit down, those who are listening to us globally will hear me better. Therefore, I obey. Sultan, you know I'm an obedient servant. Thank you very much. The Sultan was reminding me of my title. And those of you who have no caliphate title, now you're trouble. Leave me JJ with my own. And Dr. Gumi, have you been lucky to have a Sokoto title yet?
Malam no dey get title.
Oh, Malam no dey get title. No. Okay. So leave us, those of us who are entitled to title. Bishop Onoha, I want to thank you and really, really express our gratitude for you bringing this type of interaction. It's what we need. In fact, we need this on daily basis to be able to talk to ourselves and talk among ourselves rather than talking at ourselves. I always say this: each and every one of us has solution for Nigeria problem, but each and every one of us is wrong. When you bring your own and you think it is perfect, then listen to the other man. But one thing I believe we all have in common: Nigeria. One thing that we have in common: Nigeria. Ijo nation, if you like. I have never used Yoruba nation, and I will never, because I believe that my Nigerianness is bigger than my Yorubaness, and neither my Yorubaness nor my Nigerianness should stand in the way of each other. For me, my Nigerianness is very important because I am more than what I should have been as a Nigerian than as an Oduduwa Republic man. And I believe that that should be the case for every one of us. And again, Why should the accident of my place of birth be a hindrance for me as a human being, first of all, and for me as a Nigerian? If I have been born in Sokoto, the chances are probably 99 to 1, I will have been a Muslim if I have been born in Sokoto. If Sultan had been born in Abeokuta, the chances are 99, no, it won't be 99. It will probably be 55 to 45 that he will be a Christian. Now, what has brought a change, or what he has brought, what he is or what I am, is where I was born, by whom I was born, and maybe when I was born. Why should that be a deciding factor for me as a human being? So when we come up and we look at ourselves only in the context of where we are born, when we are born, and how we are born, I believe we are making a mistake. And I have no apology to anybody that I feel that what God has given to us in Nigeria belongs to all of us in Nigeria. And anybody who feels otherwise, good luck to him. The point is that we must aggregate. If you are born in a place and there is a particular treasure in that place, you must enjoy more of it than others in other parts of Nigeria. And that, I believe, whether it's stone with which the Nigerian Railway and the Lagos port were built, which came from Abeokuta, which nobody paid anything for in the colonial days. Now don't laugh, this is true. Or the coal in Enugu, which some of it was used to drive the locomotive and whatever. The point is that it was all a gift of God to all Nigerians. I want to say that because to me it is very, very important. Humanity and the gift of God, I believe we must understand them and really know how we manage them together. I want to talk more about domestic before I come to the external, which Akim talk about dropping the ball. I will come back to that. In domestic, it has been mentioned, and we all know it, the language with which we talk to ourselves. Somebody there said, oh yes, you know your thing and all that, but this one. Now that is an insult to me. With all due respect, I see that as an insult. And that is not the language of a well-bred, well-brought-up person in an African society. One of the things that we respect in African society is age and authority. And with all due respect, I have them both. Age and authority. With all due respect, I have them both. So I don't deserve any disrespect from anybody. Having said that, there are two issues to me that are very, very important. The issue which have to be legislated. They are issues that have to be legislated. Somebody said, well, if we have a state police, what does it matter? Of course it matters a lot, from what we have seen and experienced in recent times. It matters a lot, because the state governor is the chief executive of his state, is also the chief security officer of his state. But then, what instrument does he have to be able to maintain security? And the sort of thing that we have seen and gone through in recent times. What does he have? I know, and some of you will know, what we went through under the Native Authority Police, which made it necessary to scrap the Native Authority Police and centralized police. Other countries did the same. I have been to Colombia a number of times in the past 5 years. They did the same thing. But when they were confronted with the issue of security, the way we are confronted today, they went back. And if we are going to deal with our issue of security, somebody put it rightly, most of these are local, and they have to be addressed locally. And to be addressed locally, there must be the instrument with which they can be addressed locally. So there are issues of legislation, and I do hope that our leaders at the executive and legislative level will realize that there is need for some legislative action that has to take place before even the next election. The second point, which I have mentioned a little bit in passing, is the issue of the language with which we address ourselves and the relationship that we build among ourselves. One of the things that I used to take as example is the Sultan and Cardinal Nayakam. They come together irrespective of religion, and they have common front, common attitude, common solution, common struggle against what they perceive as our problems. Your Eminence, what you are doing, may God give you the ability to continue to do it in the future. Issues of relationship, issues of language, issues of action we take. Professor Yusuf and Sheikh Gumi came to see me after Sheikh Gumi had gone to the bush to see those boys. I always refer to them as naughty boys. And a number of things were going around before they came to see me. One was that Sheikh Gumi said that the Yoruba, the Christian soldiers were the one that were killing their people, or something like that. And the second was that he was anointing bandits. So when Sheikh Gumi came, the first question I asked is, did you really say that Christian soldiers were the one killing them? He said he didn't say that. And in my making effort to receive them, I've called one person who I thought was important. He said, Gumi, I will never talk to him. I said, well, the good thing, if you won't talk to him, I will talk to him. I talked to him. And I was wiser for talking to him. Much, much wiser for talking to Sheikh Gumi and his team. The first thing that Sheikh Gumi made me to be aware of is that in where those bandits are staying, they have absolute control of it. And in fact, whether it's the military or the police, they don't go to their camp. I wouldn't know that. And until somebody, an eyewitness, tells me that, I will not know. Now, if that is the case, how then do we resolve or solve the problem? Because if we don't know, then we cannot find solution. Another thing he said was that, look, those boys of 13, 14, 15, they are soaked in drugs. So they are ruined. What do we have to do? How do we have to rehabilitate them? Or are we going to leave them ruined for the rest of their life? Now these are things that we should know. And if we know it, then what do we do? People talk of political will. I talk of political action. Political will is not enough. Political will must be matched by political action. I believe that if we are able to deal with what I call the moral content of our relationship and our language through what I will call moral rearmament, then that would be one issue being resolved. And that will involve all of us, but particularly you, the clergy, Christians and Muslims. And if there are people who are also in other religions that feel that there is something they can do, yeah, African religion. Yeah, then we will. No, I have nothing wrong against. All right, but this is the responsibility of all of us. Another thing that I will plead in this thing is, whatever we say here, or whatever we say in the corner of our houses, should be matched by what we say publicly. Some of us will say something differently, and we come out and say something at home and something different in the public. I believe honesty, integrity demand that we should say it, we should understand it, and say it and be able to. The point is this. I think we should say this to ourselves. No group in this country, in any part of this country, can dominate the rest of this country without their willingness to be dominated. If we know that, why don't we come together, put our hands together, and really forge ahead in unity, in understanding, and in mutual respect and mutual profit for all of us. Now, the issue of the youth has been mentioned, and somebody said one thing about education, about empowerment, and about skill for youth and employment. If over 14 million Nigerian children that should be in school are not in school, that should be the starting point, because those are the recruits for Boko Haram of 10 years from now, 15 years from now. On 2 occasions when I had the opportunity, I launched UPE in Sokoto. I launched UBE in Sokoto. Although both of them were not continued, but Sokoto was better for it. And I was surprised the other day when the Sultan was telling me what has been achieved in Sokoto as far as education is concerned. But there's still a lot to be done, and there's continuity to be maintained. That is the immediate future of the youth. And if we don't do it, we are postponing the evil day. And the evil day will even worse, because what we have had, those who will come tomorrow, they have seen what Boko Haram had been, what banditry had been, and they are going to improve on it. I always say to my children, I pity you. By that time, I pray that I will have gone. Not that I will, I really pray that I will be gone. But I will be failing in my duty if today I do not shout and scream about this. Because it will come. There's nothing we can do about it except to start addressing the issue today. Whatever we have, legitimately or what, whatever is we acquired, to me, I believe is a gift of God. Whether it is individually we claim it or collectively we claim it, it is the gift of God. And if the gift of God is misapplied, misused, then it is between you and God who has given it. And that is the position I hold in this respect. Let me now conclude with my recent experience. I was in France not too long ago. I went to brief President Macron about my work in the Horn of Africa. And after I had briefed him, he decided to brief me about what he's doing in Mali, in Chad, and in the Sahel. And this was soon after the debacle in Afghanistan, the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I must mention this, I was in Afghanistan 3 weeks before the withdrawal and the breakup, the collapse of Afghanistan. And President Ghani, who was kind enough even to have a banquet for me on that occasion, did not know that it would happen so fast and so quickly. It did. So President Macron was saying to me, look, I have solution for the problem of Mali and problem of Chad and the Sahel. I said, Mr. President, what is the solution? He said, I will train their soldiers. I will equip them strong enough to maintain security. Then I will withdraw. And I said, Mr. President, within 5 years you will go back. You say, why? I said, because you are relying on stick to solve the problem of Mali and Chad, whereas you need carrot and stick. And I have always said that about us here. The problem of Boko Haram will not go if all we are using is stick. We may suppress it, we may keep it down a bit, but it will not go. We have to bring carrot and stick together. So when I said this to President Macron, and I give my own country example, he said, oh, you are right, we have to rethink. So even France is now rethinking its policy in Mali, in Chad, and in the Sahel. If that can happen to a country like Mali, like France, then it needs to happen to us in Nigeria, that we should rethink how we resolve these problems. They were not there yesterday. And when in 2011, I went to Maiduguri, and I was put in contact with Boko Haram leadership. And I asked the man who was intermediating, what do you think is the foreign involvement with Boko Haram? And he said maybe 10-15%. I said, how do you come to that? And he said, well, we know them, we know what they bring in, and the people, not much. And that time, it will have been easy to deal with the issue of Boko Haram. Today, the foreign involvement is more than 50%. So it has grown beyond what we can say we deal with quickly. But then, there's still room for dealing with it. But somebody said, yes, we do not need the president, the governors, and the legislatures. We can assemble. Yes, you can assemble. We have assembled here. But there is the aspect of legislation that I have mentioned. We cannot legislate. We can assemble, we can meet, we can recommend, we can appeal, but we cannot legislate. And that is why we must go to them, we must carry them along. And the senator is saying, he's right. And he cannot do it alone. And it is also our responsibility to do what we need to do, to involve and to carry those who have responsibility to do what they need to do in the best interest of our country and our nation. Now I come and I end up, drop the ball. Almost anywhere I go. Almost anywhere I go. People will say, well, Nigeria is not at the table. And that is the truth. Oh yes, Nigeria is not at the table. About a week ago, I was coming from Gambia, where I've gone to observe the election on behalf of the Commonwealth. And when I got to Togo, Lomé, the president of Togo was waiting for me, and he took me to his house, where I met the former president of Niger, President Yusufu. And they sat me down and said this and that and this and that. some of the questions they asked me, I cannot answer because it borders on what they expect Nigeria to do, which they found Nigeria not doing. And how do I answer that? What do I say? So at the end I said, I'll hear you. And when I get home, I will see what can be done. But when I get home, I won't see anything. That's the truth. Because the truth is this. President Buhari has done his best. That is what he can do. If you expect anything more than what he has done and what he's doing, you are kicking a dead horse. And there's no need. So, if they pass all this into me and say this, what do I say? I say what I think I should say. I understand the point you are making. When I get home, that they will not let me go. But then, where do we go from here? We cannot fold our hands. I believe, and that is part of what we are doing here, and what I believe we must continue to do. How do we prepare for post-Buhari era? Buhari has done his best. My prayer is that God will spare his life to see his term through. But what do we have after Buhari? What should we do to make post-Buhari era better than what we have now? That is your responsibility. That is our responsibility. And that we cannot, and it's not a question of passing the buck or I'm saying, look, it doesn't concern me. It concerns all of us. I will finish. Just wait, you are in a hurry. I was talking to some people this morning before I left Lagos. I was leaving my hotel and a lady came and said, "Sir, I want to take you down." I said, "Down where?" I've never met her before. I said, "Is it down where we have some youth?" I said, "Youth?" He said, "Yes, USAID is giving us money to train some youth in youth empowerment, youth employment, and youth entrepreneurial and entrepreneurship and all that." I said, "Okay, let's go." So we went under at the ground floor of Marriott Hotel where I stayed. And they were there. I said to them, "Look, whatever you are here for, we should thank USAID for making this possible for you. But if you don't take advantage of the opportunity you have, your future may be in jeopardy. But let me tell you, you will go through history. You will look at those who gave us independence, the generation before my own generation. And we can crucify them again and again. But what we cannot change is that they gave us independence. We cannot change that. I say what you will look, when you look at my own generation, which is the generation following the generation of those who gave us independence, you can crucify all of us and take all of us one by one, and including those who are already dead, dig them up and nail them to the wall. I said, but one thing you cannot change is what that generation had done. It fought for the unity of Nigeria. and it laid the foundation of democracy. You cannot change that. I said, but your own generation and the generation that is coming, that follows our own generation, you must be asking yourself, what will you do? What will they say about you? You have to think about it. And I said, in the last 2.5 months, I've gone to 2 or 3 countries where the youth have now been recognized as an important, in fact, the main factor in election victory. One is Zambia. And the president of Zambia, the new president of Zambia, when I went to him, said, look, I will not have won this election if the youth have not supported me. I will not have won this election if the youth had not supported me. I said, thank you. I told you I just observed the election in Gambia for the Commonwealth. And after the result was declared, I went to the president who had the second term. And he said to me, my father was addressing me. Then I look at myself. I said, I then look at his face. Oh, I said, yes, I'm holding on to his father. Maybe. Your Eminence, I won't tell you what His Eminence said. That's soldier talk. And he said to me, if not for youth support, I would not have won this election. And I don't want to disappoint them. Sir, go and look for me what I will do, not to disappoint you. That is in Gambia. Then I left there. I went to Kenya. I wanted to brief